Hey guys, before we dive into the show, I wanted to tell you about the perfect trailer cue blueprint, which is 100% free, and you can download it right now over at thetrailermusicschool.com/blueprint. Now, this blueprint will help you to completely understand the structure of trailer music, how to build tracks that will be more licensable and have more impact and capture the right people's attention. So whenever you start writing a cue, make sure you've got this blueprint to hand and you can use it to help speed up your process, feel more confident that you've crafted a well-structured trailer cue before you send it off to that publisher or editor or supervisor. Okay, let's get into the episode. Hey guys, you've heard it from me so many times about how awesome the Protégé course is, so I thought it was probably best for you to hear from some of our students.
I went into the Protégé course with a pretty unhealthy amount of insecurity about the music I was writing at the time, struggling to structure tracks, to finish them on a regular basis.
We're going to have a bunch of people basically working in the industry, get briefs every week, and then we publish them. I was like, what? That sounds like insane. I've never heard of any other people doing that sort of thing, like actually like mentoring people on like the level of like, no, we're doing it for an entire year. Yeah, that's why I think the Protégé thing is just amazing, because it's targeted. It's, okay, we want this type of music for this type of application. Let's do it. And then, okay, here's where you fell short. Here's where you succeeded. And it's just amazing.
I feel like I've learned so much and improved so much in my production skills. I've gotten better at percussion and better at my capacity to write tracks quicker has improved, and I've gotten better at properly responding to feedback, and I feel like now there is more of a future for me in the library world than there was before I started.
It's definitely a course that I would recommend doing. There are so many courses out there, but this one really hammers home on how to write to brief, how to write quickly, and how to write expertly as well. Honestly, the videos are very user-friendly, they're very engaging, and you get to have breakdowns of some of Richard's most successful tracks, or Elephant Music's most successful tracks, which has been really useful as well. So I thoroughly recommend to dive right in.
Protégé was one of the best investments that I ever made in my career. It did level up my game, and not just in skill, but also in my confidence. It just made me a more professional composer and a better composer.
But the course did exactly what it intended to do, in that it kind of demystified the whole composition process, taught me a bunch of good habits. And I suppose most importantly, and what I'm the most grateful for, is the fact that it actually helped me to really enjoy writing music again.
There you have it, guys. We are opening our doors for applications for the 21-22 masterclass year with Protégé.school. Go to protégé.tiny.us/apply. That's protégé.tiny.us/apply to start your application.
One man with one microphone and one awesome podcast. Welcome to the Trailer Music Composers Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to another session of the Trailer Music Composers Podcast. I just wanted to just say this first. I've had a cold this week, so my voice is a bit rough. So you may have heard it on one of the other episodes. I kind of forget which episode I'm releasing next, so I've done a few this week, and my voice has progressively got more and more, like this. So anyway, thank you so much for taking your time to listen to the podcast. You haven't listened to it yet, but I just wanted to tell you that this one, I'm actually really, really excited about this one, because this guest has been so integral to my external trailer music career. And what I mean by that is, I mean not me as a composer, but me as an educator. He was one of the first students to buy my course, one of 4. In fact, he didn't buy it, he pre-purchased it. I messaged him because I know him through my wife's cousin. I messaged him saying, hey, I want to do this course. would you mind giving me some money, paying for it, so that I can take the time to produce it?" And him and 3 other chaps, they they paid me the money to do the course. And it's as a result of him believing in me at the start, which has meant that I made the first training music course. I then made a hybrid training music course. I did the piano training music courses, and then launched the trailer music school. And then from the trailer music school, I launched this podcast. And then from this podcast and through other processes, we launched Protege. That's me and Vic launched Protege and Blue Pearl. So the seed that Dave planted early in my career by believing in me doing the trailer music school and the trailer music course was huge. It was really huge. So it's a real honor for me to have Dave on the podcast. He's such a super nice guy and such an amazing, amazing writer and composer and producer. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you get a lot out of it. Dave does add some really great tips, especially about focus. Enjoy. Dave Carr, welcome to the Trailer Music Composers podcast. Lovely to have you here, sir.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here.
Yeah. So for the listeners that don't know, well, actually, I'm sure everyone doesn't know this, but Dave and I have a connection in real life. Dave is good friends with my wife's cousin, Joe. In fact, that's how we initially connected many years ago. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly that. In a pub.
Yeah. Dave, just to ease us in gently, I want you to answer one simple question. If you were an instrument, what would you be and why?
Right.
I should say musical instrument, just in case you said microscope. Yeah.
Okay. I've heard you ask this before, so I suppose I'm slightly prepared. I've spent most of my life being told I'm super laid back, even from a young age. So I think I'd go for something like a jazz-style double bass.
Nice. Oh, see, the preparation does help, doesn't it?
I was trying to think of other instruments which are laid back, but I was drawing blanks, to be honest.
Yeah, I suppose maybe, a lot of bass instruments, slower pace to life,
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Jazz bass. Nice.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, Dave, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience? Tell us who you are, where you are now, and how you got there.
Okay. I'm Dave. I was born in London. Lived there for about 6 years. Then moved over to Reading. I guess my musical journey sort of started because my family a lot of musicians in my family, not necessarily super accomplished musicians or anything like that, but lots of players. My mum was a music teacher and a piano teacher, but right from the beginning, really, I've had my hands on the keys. I had a piano in the house at all times, sort of thing. Piano was the first for me, I suppose, when I was living in London. And then as I moved across to Reading, as I got older, I suppose I became aware of what else there is. I mean, my mum she's a singer and a trumpet player and a pianist. She kind of encouraged me into trying trumpet. Sort of interested, didn't feel like the coolest instrument or something when I was, I can't think how old, 8 years old or something like that. So I think I dropped that pretty quick. Had piano lessons while I was living in Reading, sort of on the approach to secondary school, I suppose. When I got into secondary school, I had my mind absolutely blown by watching these guys play the drums through the music block window. It's like, I feel like a lot changed me in that moment. So then I began my love affair with drums. Started drum lessons in school, got a kit, really pissed my neighbours off many times, I think. Luckily for me, my dad, on his 40th birthday, decided he was going to try and learn the drums. This was before I'd discovered that. And he basically never did. So there was drum kit sat in the corner of, well, it was actually my room because there was a bit of spare space in the corner of the room. So either way, off I went on my journey of the drums, which was just awesome. Played in a few bands in school. Obsessed, just totally obsessed, basically.
Nice.
After that, I suppose, well, through drums, it started with like rock music, very quickly transitioned into metal. I think my older sister was into loads of music, or she was really into finding music, always going and buying the newest album as it came out, sort of thing. So that was really useful to me, and metal just pushed the boundary, and I suppose
which metal bands specifically?
Oh, blimey. Heavy bands, like really heavy bands, like Slipknot. Bands like The Faceless, it's a super heavy band. Again, it's like pushing the boundaries. So I also like bands like Annihilator, stuff with a bit more groove. Machine Head. Love loads of local music. I mean, I doubt this is going to mean anything to anyone, but I love bands like Silosis.
Josh Middleton.
Josh Middleton, yeah.
Who I had the same guitar teacher as.
Oh, Nick Hollings. I know Nick Hollings as well.
Nick Hollings. Yeah. There we go. Shout out to Nick. Thank you, sir.
Shout out to Nick, yeah. Biatrophy, Heart of a Coward, like, yeah, all sorts of stuff. I think it kind of like it changed as time went on, really. So that was great, but in the end, or as I started to get older, it wasn't just the drums that I loved in this music. It was pushing the boundaries on more of a melodic side as well. And so I decided, because my dad's a guitarist, so I decided, and I'd always sort of messed around with the guitar. So I decided this is how I'm going to get my fix, my melodic fix, because, rather than smashing it out on the drums, not losing my passion there. So I played guitar for a while I was still in school. That sort of carried on through college. In fact, no, it did carry on through college, but then kind of disappeared again as I went into university. And when I came into university, I rediscovered my love for the piano, which I didn't stop playing really, but compared to the drums and the guitar for all the music I was listening to, it just wasn't quite there, if you know what I mean. I did popular music and record production in Southampton at university, so it was basically focused on production, mixing, recording techniques, stuff like that, which was great, really, really good, and learning Pro Tools. That was one of the main things. I think my time through uni, I started to find my real love for film music, and being back into the piano from when I started university, I think my mind started to realize that maybe I could make music like that, but I didn't really know where I was going to go with that. I suppose rewinding a bit, back when I was in college, my dad worked in a school in London, and he was good friends with the music department there in the school. Managed to get a copy of Cubase, what was it called? Cubase SX, I think, and a really dodgy computer. Got me an interface from them as well, and a mixing desk. So, me and my mates would do our best to record whatever we could, really. Didn't really know what I was doing, but it was going from the instrument into the machine, so something was happening. So yeah, I'd already had a little bit of experience in recording, and I suppose that's where the love of film music and the recording aspect started to come together in my mind, and I realized, how do people go about this? So towards the end of my time in uni, I started to find out what sample libraries were. Sort of. I feel like it took me forever to actually understand what was going on. I torrented or cracked a bunch of stuff, which ended up killing my PC in the end, pretty much. And yeah, it was a shambles, really. But coming out of university, I had more of an idea where I wanted to go, or at least some idea. The other idea was to work in post-production, audio post-production, because again, I love film and film music, but I also could recognize the power of the sound design and stuff like that. So that was definitely interesting to me. I tried pushing that for a little while when I was fresh out of uni. Did a few sort of trial running shifts and stuff for some post houses in London. Quickly realised that's not exactly what I wanted, really. I'd already started. I'm not sure if I'd spoken to you at this point, but I'd already started trying to make my own film sounding music because I didn't really know where I was supposed to be going with it. At this point, I was using Pro Tools, which I'd learned in uni. I was sort of getting somewhere, but then
when you say getting somewhere, what do you mean?
I don't really know. As in, I was writing music which was orchestral instruments. It sounded fairly filmy to me, but that's about where it ended, really. I didn't really realise the potential of being able to, get it out there, sell it, get it on shows and stuff like that. I did meet a guy briefly who lived in not too far from where I was then, actually not too far from where you are now. He's a guy, a composer, and I contacted him just to simply go and talk to him. He's the guy who, I can't remember his name, I'm bad about that. He'd written all the music for Thomas Tank Engine, all of it since the beginning of time.
Amazing. There's actually...
Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, there's actually like a huge bed of old school composers and songwriters around us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like 60s pop makers, basically.
Yeah. He had a lovely house and a really cool studio in the back garden. And he showed me what was what and all the sample libraries he had at the time. And that really helped push me through and actually realise what was sort of what can be done and how a composer sort of goes about things day to day also.
Well, yeah, so you've just started piecing together some of your own stuff, orchestral stuff. Oh, actually, just as a side note, those people listening, I still have my rough voice, as you've probably already guessed. Still got the cold. Okay, right. Anyway, back into it. Yeah, so you were just piecing together your own music. You started reaching out to people. So you reached out to me about maybe 2014. I think that was when you reached out to me. So yeah, it might have been around the same time. And you reached out to the guy. I'm sure somebody in the audience knows who the name of the man who wrote the music to Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah.
What a legend.
I think it was pretty soon after that I was just in Reading at the pub with Joe, who you're related to, and he was just asking me about how things are going, and I was telling him how I was trying to find my way with music and hoping maybe I can turn it into something where I can make some money. And he mentioned you, and it sounded exactly like what I was sort of looking for. So I was like, right, what's his name? Give me his Facebook deets. And I got onto you, and my mind really started to open up after that. He gave me a lot of really, really good advice.
Well,
which then later on led to you offering me the opportunity to try one of your courses. I didn't know what trailing music was at all, so I didn't really know what I was being asked. But yeah, I went for it, and it was quite mind-blowing, to be honest.
I just want to put another footnote in here, Dave. Those people listening, you have Dave to thank for all of my courses, basically. Dave and 3 other composers paid me like a little fee to basically produce the course the trailer music course, the original one, because I'd read all about these marketers that said, get people to pre-buy before you do it so you're at least being paid for your time. So I thought, well, who would buy a course on trailer music? And I sort of thought, okay, these guys have contacted me saying they want to get into, writing music for a living. And Dave was one of them. You're one of them, Dave. And I said, hey, look, I'm really interested in doing this course. I think it would really help you. Obviously, it would help me too. Are you interested? And obviously, Dave said yes, and 3 other guys said yes. And because you paid me, and the other chaps paid me this tiny, I don't know what it was at the time, but you paid me some money, and I thought, great, I'm going to produce this course. And so, yeah, you started the training music school, Dave.
Yes, well, I mean, it felt like a complete course to me. It was perfect. It blew my mind. I thought I could use Pro Tools quite well at the time. I know the course wasn't taught in Pro Tools, but just the way that you work, creating templates, coloring, it just, I mean, there's so much I could say about how much it did for me at the time.
I'm not going to stop you from continuing. Oh no, that's really, honestly, Dave, that's really good to hear, because I do love to hear that actually the stuff I'm producing is helpful, and I do like to hear that I am being helpful and of service, because I don't know whether you know, but a lot of my reasoning for doing this stuff is because when I first started out, I didn't have anyone to reach out to, and people I did find some composers to reach out to, but they were sort of established BBC composers who obviously were too busy to respond to a university student saying, hello, I've just got a ripped copy of, what's that? Reason. That was it. I was working on Reason back then. I've got a ripped copy of Reason. I want to be a film composer like you. Can you give me some advice? And only 1 or 2 perhaps replied, and it was very much just like, yeah, just keep doing it.
Oh, man.
So...
Sorry, go on.
So that's the reason for a lot of this, is so that I can give back to composers who want to find their footing.
Well, it just feels lucky to me, really, that you offered me that, to be honest. Especially you saying that, you didn't have anyone to offer you the key when you were doing it. That's literally what I felt like I was given.
Well, you know what? That's lovely to hear. And it was really interesting, because I was absolutely petrified doing that course, that first course. I didn't want to show my face. I really, it's for any composers out there who've ever done walkthroughs, it's a very bizarre thing to be writing and talking about what you're doing at the same time. I think I started to go into a strange little world of like euphemisms. I think I made so many euphemisms in that course. It was probably outrageous.
Well, you sounded very professional to me.
Thank you. I obviously, I was putting on my professional voice. Okay, so take us from there.
From there,
what were the next steps? So you've just done my first training music course. At that point, I'd not released it to anybody. It was just you 4.
So like I said, it really opened up my mind. So as part of the course, it was sort of like, make this track, finish it, and then that was sort of the objective of the course, wasn't it? So I then went on and just continued to do that after the course. Keep making, because first of all, that's what you said in the course. The more you write, the better you're going to be, which is absolutely true. I know that now. So I just kept doing that. I had a little bit of library work stuff, which obviously was very different to trailer music, but it kept me writing, and it kept me thinking in a little bit of a different way to the trailer music, I suppose. Halfway through or the end of the course, I was offered an independent film from a team of filmmakers in Henley. It was called Portalis, sort of a post-apocalyptic, thrillery type thing, which was really cool. They were like, oh, you write music. Do you want to come and write us some music for this? Like, yes, I'm not going to say no to that. turns out it was the music, it was recording, overdubbing all the dialogue, and it was all the sound design for the whole thing as well.
Wow.
Not paid, I didn't really expect to be paid because, but it was a hell of a lot of work. But I also learned a lot from that. But I also learned from that that's not what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So just carried on writing trailer music. Really, I wasn't really trying to push myself out there and give it to any of it to publishers yet, because I didn't really feel I was there as such. So I kept writing, and I was working with some various libraries just for TV work, which is quite nice because you get a little fee up front, which kept me motivated, I suppose. And then starting to see some royalties, that gave me even more motivation. And then I think just about after that, I might be skipping forward a bit, but then the opportunity to write for the student album through the course, or from the course, which was amazing for Elephant, which was incredible. Although it was hybrid trailer music, which I hadn't ever done. So when I got the brief, I panic listened to everything again and again, until I just about got my head around it. I mean, percussion-wise, I was always pretty okay, I think. But when it comes to the synth stuff, that was pretty intimidating for me. But by the end of it, it was great, really rewarding, and having all the feedback from Vic and yourself was just invaluable. It was really, really great.
So
I think I was almost more pleased with that than anything, because it's real industry professionals giving you honest feedback.
So here you are again, Dave, reappearing at some point in my career. That was the initial formation of Protégé and Blue Pearl, the companies that Vic and I have started. Excuse me. So for those of you that is in the audience who don't know what that was at that point I had the trailer music school. I think I had it on Udemy. I think I just had my courses on Udemy then. So I had a lot of students who admittedly had paid peanuts for the course. And obviously I was working for Vic, and Vic and I were talking about it. And I said, why don't we run a competition for the students of my course and see if we can find some new talent, that the Elephant can then push through in an album. And he was like, huge, that's amazing, let's do it. So we sent out this brief to everybody on the list of people who signed up to the course. Dave was one of them. And it was, okay, here's an industry brief. We want you to, I think it was action sound design, wasn't it, the brief? Or hybrid sound design. Produce this track. And what you've highlighted there, Dave, was the problem with the trailer music course. It's essentially an orchestral trailer music course. So most people who submitted for the brief that Vic and I put out gave me and Vic orchestral music.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so they missed the brief, which is common. People do that anyway. But we got you, and I think there was 18 other composers on board for the album. So it was from there we were just like, well, maybe we should turn this into a business, because this was an amazing process for us as much as it was for you guys. The problem we had was the feedback process for a lot of the composers was so long, because they weren't used to working to brief. They weren't used to working in this professional way. You stood out as one of the ones who produced the goods pretty much straight away, and whenever we asked for feedback, you gave us the exact changes we requested. And just a little tip for the audience. Sorry, Dave. Just a little tip for the audience. Dave is kind of embodying what I'm often saying to you guys to do, which is keep talking about your work to people. If he hadn't been talking about it, he wouldn't have spoken to my wife's cousin Joe, who wouldn't have put him forward to me. If he hadn't have continued pursuing, he wouldn't have emailed me asking advice. And you kind of did that sort of semi-regularly, maybe once a year, checking in. And because he checked in, he was on my mind with the trailer music stuff, and he then brought the course forward. And So let's jump in as to Dave's positive approach to writing. You've just finished the album with Elephant Music. So that was the competition album. So what happens now? So you've just done this album. You've just had this first trailer release to the industry.
I'm trying to think of when that was. That was it was the end of 2019, was that? Or 18? 19, I think.
I think 19. I think it was, just after I moved here. So 19, yeah.
So first of all, once that was released, album artwork and all the rest just felt great. Awesome. It was really cool. And all the tracks on the album were really cool as well. After that, I kind of just kept pushing the TV library work because there seemed to be plenty of it coming in, quite varied stuff from, I don't know, stripped back emotional stuff, stripped back sort of, I can't even think, quite a lot of stuff from MasterChef, to be totally honest, which wasn't the sort of thing I thought I was going to be writing, but it seemed to work quite well for me, so I kept going with that for a bit. And I kept writing library music for companies, but then at the same time kept writing trailer music for myself, or well, just like I said, keep it going and keep practicing, because really I wanted to be getting orchestral trailer music out there like I learned from the course, because I felt I had foundations in that now and it felt far more comfortable. As Onyx was great, but I didn't feel as comfortable quite as I do with the orchestral side of things. So I suppose through 2020, kept writing the library music, and then got a call from you towards the end of the year, I think it was that year, saying I'd had a placement. And that was my mind blown, really. Yes.
Get in. So that was the placement from Onyx, which was the Elephant Music album. And that was huge for Vic and I, because it was just like, it was a big placement. So will you tell the listeners what the placement was?
It was, Gears of War for one of their new DLC side questers. And it was, it blew my mind. It was amazing. I never expected my first placement to be something so big and energetic. It was amazing.
Yeah. It's the wonderful thing is kind of having seen you through the whole process, sort of showing you the ropes of trailer music, you putting in the work, you putting in the time, you being a nice guy to work with, and boom, first big placement. And I remember that feeling so well,
I was surprised how fast it happened from the album release, to be honest. It was cool that two of us got it as well, because it was a track that I wrote with Frank.
Yeah, so that was that's again another really nice story with that track, because Frank was one of the competition winners, but halfway through the album, or at least very, very close to the end of the process of the album being finished, he had to go away for quite some time, and he was worried that he would miss out on the album being released. So I said, look, don't worry, we'll get another composer to do their job with you. It'll be a collaboration, because his track needed quite a bit of work. He has some really great sounds in there, really great sounds, but structurally it wasn't quite working. And I thought, okay, well, who's been smashing it on that album? And I was like, well, Dave's been smashing it. I think we asked you to do extra tracks actually as well, didn't we? As well as doing the collaboration. Again, and because Dave was just so nice to work with, and I'm going to keep saying this, audience, be really nice to work with. It makes a huge difference. It keeps you front of mind as well. And so that was the track you and Frank wrote together.
Yeah, it was cool that it worked out that way. And I have to say, taking on someone else's almost written track and being asked to finish it is pretty nice compared to just having to rattle a whole new one out. He had some really cool sounds in there, so it was quite inspiring, really. Yeah,
I do a lot of writing with Kieran Birch, and the process we normally do is I will start the track, Act 1 and Act 2, and he'll take over, and he says exactly the same thing, that having the bones of the track there it's almost like you're approaching it as a producer more than a composer, because you're just like, well, I've got all the elements, now I just need to shape it.
Yeah, it was great.
It was awesome, man. So that was, when was that, 2020? And so what's happening in your world since then?
Well, since then, like, again, just been continuing writing library music, which is still entertaining me, and the royalties are certainly growing, which is feeling really good. I suppose after that, it would have been then Blue Pearl emerged. Another opportunity given to me by you.
There you go.
Yeah, you just sort of reached out saying, what have you got? Can you send us some stuff? So I just sent various stuff, and you picked out some tracks I wrote for, I can't remember the name of the library, but they were sort of a little bit magic-y, a little bit mystical, I suppose, something like that. So you said, how about writing some trailer music, sort of like this stuff? Which immediately appealed to me because, like I said, what I got from the original course, I wanted to write music like that. And that's the opportunity that I've had through Blue Pearl. And I've just sent over the fourth album now, is it?
Fourth album in that kind of, it's sort of Danny Elfman family adventure type stuff, isn't it? You know?
Yeah. I've loved it. Absolutely loved writing this stuff.
Well, the thing is, you do it so well.
It just makes me so happy writing it, and it's really inspiring writing that sort of stuff, I think.
Yeah, I think also it's so very important as a composer to be in that area that not only feels comfortable but also excites you.
Yeah.
Because the excitement just keeps pushing you to write more and more. And, you know, when you're good at it, the excitement pushes you to get better, you know, and then you start to learn new tricks, and then it's just fantastic. And that's what we can hear. We can hear that actually, although you're great at sound design, the other thing is you sent me a couple of library tracks that they weren't trailing music. But we were like, oh, well, we can hear that he's going to be able to do this lovely kind of magical family adventure vibe. So, and we know he's good with massive drums. So give us those twinkly Celestes with massive drums, Dave. And you've been smashing it, which has been really nice for us as well. So thank you, sir.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, I've loved it. The amount that I've used a Celeste a million times across all the tracks now. It's probably my go-to for these albums, I'd say.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is, you start playing it, and immediately, probably a little bit of thanks to Harry Potter, but immediately you go, magical worlds.
Well, that's exactly it. You know, I tried starting a track by loading up the piano, and it just doesn't quite hit the same.
No, it doesn't at all. I know. Dude, it's so nice for me to hear the story, because you've been. I want you to know you've been so integral in my continuation, because another thing you've done, Dave, is at various points in our communication, you've emailed me. So after the training music course, you emailed me saying, Rich, I just want to say thanks for the course. It was really good. It's taught me this, you know. And even just that little email there, I remember telling my wife, going, hey, I just had an email from one of the students, Dave. He just said, Joe's friend. He's just said that he really enjoyed the course. Maybe I should do more.
Wow.
And those thank yous are really important. You know, it's good to show gratitude.
Well, that course changed my life. So what can I say?
Whoop.
Again.
Oh, dude. So where am I? I'm just going to go back over to my questions here. Now, one of the things that I do like to ask is, not that I like to go to the darker side of writing music, but it's tough being a composer, stuck on your own, not in your own, stuck on your own most of the time. So what do you think are the creative barriers you face as a composer, you know, and how do you not battle them, but how do you overcome those creative barriers?
I think my issue, whether I'm starting a new track or jumping into one which I've already got on the go, it's an issue of focus. I feel like it may be there in me, and I know that I can probably lay it down, but I also know what it feels like when you're writing a track and there's like fireworks going off in your head, like you just laid something down, and then that instantly inspires the next thing and the next thing. I think if that's not happening, it can just slowly drag me down. And I've tried to push through it, and I have pushed through it before. But nowadays, I find that if I just walk away and exercise, to be honest, that's one of the main things that I go to. It gives me a really good reset, both for my ears and my mind. I think maybe sometimes if I try to jump on the music first thing in the morning, sort of wake up, go and make a coffee, and then just kind of crack on. So I feel like I'm quite alive at that time of day. And if it's not happening, then I think the energy that I've already got in me kind of works against me. So yeah, I need to go and get rid of that energy by either walking or something similar.
I totally agree. Most of my writing sessions are in the morning. So if the kids have gone to school, nursery, and I've got a little bit of time to write. And I don't normally like to have a long writing session, normally sort of 2 hours tops, because as you say, these sort of clouds begin to emerge, don't they? And you do need to clear the fog. And yeah, exercising is a great one. Meditating, if you want to do it at that time of day, or just having some food and a nap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So say on a good day, you sit down, you've had your coffee, you're smashing out ideas, the fireworks are going. Do you stop at a given time, or do you continue until you get to that point where you lose focus?
No, if it's going well and I'm really feeling it, I will just carry on and keep going. And if I can carry on until, I'm not one to write until 12 at night or anything like that. I'll probably stop about, well, I don't know. I can go into the evening sometimes, but usually when my girlfriend finishes work, will usually be around the time that I probably stop. But if it's been going well that day, and I'm feeling excited about it, then waking up the next day, it's no issue, usually. I think the issue comes for me when I've been writing these albums, once I'm about 8 tracks down, the last 2 can be far harder to get out. I think that's when it gets a bit trickier.
Okay. So my issue is slightly different to that. My issue is often warming into the album, and then once I'm sort of 3 tracks in, bosh, the rest just falls into place. So, I mean, how do you get over that? And how do you get over that? You've done 8 tracks, and are they 8 complete tracks, or are they 8 sketches?
It's a little bit all over the place. Some of them I might finish, but I say that lightly, as in it's got its 3 acts. Usually the first track that I write, I'll probably go back and tear up quite a bit. So it's usually from track 2 onwards that I'm going to be fairly happy with.
Yeah, I was just saying about like once you got to track 8, because I kind of gave you 2 questions at once. Once you get to track 8 and you're getting that point where you're like, okay, I've got 2 tracks to do. I feel like I've covered all the ground already. What do I do now? How do you get over that? Is it just a case of sitting down and just writing and just doing it?
Yeah, pretty much a case of sitting down, trying to get it done. If it doesn't work, quickly go for a walk, come back, see if I can get a bit more done. It just seems to have worked out so far. But like I say, I'll sort of bounce around all of the tracks within the album, and I think that it keeps me interested, but it also keeps me thinking about the album as a whole. And I think sometimes going back and working on another track can help me get through those last 2 by giving me a few ideas of how I may have finished it or started it.
Nice. Okay, for those of you listening, Dave's dropping some I don't want to say the word value bombs because that's not, I don't feel that's in my vocabulary. But I'm going to have to say, because I can't think of anything else, Dave's dropping some value bombs. Yeah, exactly. Boom. Like really useful tips, especially the one, if it's not working, stop, do something else. That is huge. That kind of gear shift in your mind allows you to kind of process what you've been doing. And the other thing about hopping to other tracks, that can be a downfall because you kind of like magpie your way through your work, don't you? If you just keep chopping and changing, you don't really get anywhere. But if you're using it at a point where you're losing focus, you go, okay, I'll go to one that's more successful and I can do the fine tuning, the production, because it's a different mindset for me, you know, writing and producing, they are like almost two different brains. And in fact, actually, I'd say there's almost a third, isn't there? There's the orchestrating. There's the kind of tedious thing of loading up your templates and then copying and pasting all of the lines so that all the brass are doing that and all the strings are doing that. So yeah, really useful tips. Do you find there's any other creative barriers for you, or is focus the only one?
I think mainly focus, to be honest. I mean, maybe trying to find something a little bit different each time. Maybe I can end up surfing through sounds for a while to kind of try and inspire me to find something a little bit different. Like with these orchestral fantasy albums, maybe something other than a Celeste for once. But
no.
No. But no, I think however I'm feeling about it at the time, I think if I notice a drop in my focus, that's when I know I'm around the point where I should probably just walk away for a bit to reset my ears or my mind.
Yeah. Good call. Okay, so what advice would you give? Because you're kind of in that position. You've landed your sort of first big trailer. You've been doing library work, so you've got experience in the field. So what advice would you give to composers starting out who may be just discovering trailer music? Because both you and I have got to that point. At some point in our career, we went, "Wait, what's trailer music? I didn't know that was a thing."
Yeah, absolutely.
And loads of people don't know it's a thing still. So what advice would you give to those people who've just discovered trailer music?
Number one, don't expect anyone to know what you're talking about. Number two, do a course. Do a course, because that's been the best thing that I've done for sure. Number three, learn your DAW well, because then, or your workstation, because then it's not going to hold you back. If you want to be able to chop something up and fade it out here and do this and that, you can just do it rather than then having to learn how to do it on the spot. So I say alongside a course, learn how to use the production side, as in the software you're using. Facebook forums are super handy.
Any particular?
All the time. I can't think what they're called. Trailer music discussion group, maybe.
The trailer music support group. The
support group.
Cody Still's big group of trailer music composers. I think the trailer music. Yeah, he's gonna be like, Rich, can't believe you can't remember the name of my group.
I'm part of a few of them.
Yeah,
and they're all really useful because someone will drop a question and everyone's pitching in, including all the big hitters. You know, the big trailer music guys, and it's, you know, if it's your first day trying to be a trailer music composer, you can straight away have advice from the top people, responding to people there and there. That's been super handy.
Also, it's not just the composers; it's the editors in there. It's the consultants. They're all in there. The supervisors, they are all there watching and reading and listening. So because it's quite a small community at the moment. It's a global one, but you know, joining those groups really helpful because as you say, you get some incredible advice, really quickly as well. I don't know how these guys do any work. The amount of Facebook posts they reply to, great advice.
I'm pretty poor when it comes to social media posting and stuff like that, but I'm always there to read it.
Okay, right. Dude, there's some great tips. So let's go over those again. I can't remember what the first one was. Damn it.
Don't expect anyone to know what you're talking
Thank you. Don't expect anyone to know what trailer music is, basically. Do a course, join the forums, because that will kind of give you, and learn your door as well. Yeah. Great advice.
For me, knowing Pro Tools before I started all this stuff really helped a lot.
Yeah, big time. Okay, dude. It's time for the quick fire round.
Oh, okay.
Hello. Okay. I think I know the answer to a couple of these, but so this is all about software. All trailer music people are basically software nerds, whether it's digital audio workstation nerds or whether it's sample library nerds or sound effect nerds. They love a bit of what's the word? I'm just going to say nerdiness. That's the word just left me. Yeah. And also we love to hear what other people are using. I think also because for me, it reveals how we're all using exactly the same stuff. In fact, Kieran and Cody and I were talking about that on the podcast last week. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. We were toying to whether we should call it the Trailer Music Banter Show. But I don't think there was enough banter for it to be called Banter Show. There was, mild banter. But, okay, right. Dave Carr, what is your DAW of choice?
Pro Tools.
Your go-to piano library?
Alicia Keys.
Go-to...
Sorry.
Alicia's Keys. Yeah, yeah, that's it, yeah. Yeah, excuse me, Alicia, can I just... go-to string library?
Oh, I would probably say LA Scoring Strings. I bought the light version so many years ago, but it's just got so much bite to it and it's super dry. I just have to say that. The spiccatos are great.
They're fantastic, aren't they? The first jazz is good too. Okay, brass library.
Brass library. I haven't forked out on a brass library yet. I'm using the Composer Cloud. So I suppose I would have to say Hollywood Brass.
Well, you are forking out. You're just forking out every month a little bit at a time. Yeah.
I think that's something that should be fixed soon, to be honest.
Yeah. See, I use Hollywood Brass as well. I do have a few other brass libraries, but Hollywood Brass is bitey enough. Okay, all right, go to synth. Oh, wait, no, sorry, I skipped. Go to percussion.
Percussion. I'm still rocking Damage 1, so I have to go for that.
Me too.
I haven't gone for 2 yet.
No, I know everyone says it's amazing and that I should do. I will do. I'm still waiting to upgrade my Mac so that my Mac doesn't die out on me when I load up newer libraries. Okay, go to synth.
Omnisphere.
1 or 2?
2.
Right, now your top 3 effects plugins.
It'd have to be Fab Filter Pro Q3. I'd say that's going to be my most used plugin. Valhalla Room. And Decapitator, maybe.
I was just about to say Pro Q3 is one of the ones that everybody has said. And I was about to say, the only other thing that you haven't said, Dave, is a sound toy. Oh, there you go. Sound toys, Decapitator, there we go. Okay, right. Now, what is your number one piece of advice to write better trailer music?
To write better trailer music, write lots of it. Not necessarily write lots that you're going to be trying to get work with. Just write loads and loads and loads, because if you write 10 tracks, the 10th track is definitely going to be better than the first, basically.
Nice. Good advice. Right, I think that is the end of the quickfire round, Dave. Yeah, dude, I just want to say thank you for taking your time to chat today. It's been a long time. So we've tried to arrange beers several times. It's kind of pathetic because before I moved here, we literally lived around the corner from each other. So I just want to kind of reiterate a couple of things that, Dave, you're super nice and super talented. And those two as a combination are a very, very powerful duo. So those of you who are listening, remember that it's not all about how good you are. It's also about how nice you are to work with. So thank you so much for taking the time, man. I really appreciate it. I hope the audience, I'm sure they will get something out of this. And I wish you all the best in your trailer music endeavors.
Thank you so much, Rich.
That's right, dude. So there we go. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. I really hope you got something out of that interview. I certainly enjoyed myself, and I think Dave dropped. I don't want to say value bombs again. I need to have like post-it notes around my room that say words to say instead of value bombs. Dave gave some great tips. That'll do. Tips and tricks. Hacks, life hacks. Thank you so much for listening, guys. You're absolute legends. And I will see you in the next episode. Well, you won't. I won't see you. I'll speak to you and you'll hear. Thanks, chaps.